So we have another relatively short introduction lesson, but then requires a lot of work. So we are at the point now in our systematic reviews that we should have selected the articles that are going to be included in our review. And these are our results. So for every article that meets your inclusion criteria, for every article that meets the inclusion criteria, we're going to include in the systematic review. And that's the purpose of doing a systematic review, to get to the point that we have a defensible procedure for the articles that we are including. So we've selected these articles by going through our flow chart. These are the ones that go down and get into that final qualitative analysis. And so now we need to give our reader the background information from the articles, so that way they can judge our conclusions based off of the research that we've done. So the first step is this results table. It's basically a table format of an annotated bibliography. The results table is not necessarily about your research question, but about their research question, with one large exception. Oftentimes, research and specific research studies address more than one concept at a time, because you're collecting data and you're going to do multiple analysis of that data. We only may be interested in part of that analysis. So for example, if we're looking at dry needling and hamstring range of motion, and we have a research article that did not only hamstring range of motion, but also quad range of motion, we do not need to report out the information on quad, only on hamstring. So in our methods, we described what we were going to take out of our articles. And so we go ahead and do it. You reference them in one column. I want you to do a level of evidence and Pedro score. Subjects, because obviously the number of subjects and the characteristics of the subjects are important. So these, you have to try to get these down in as abbreviated as possible for every article that's included. So number of subjects, characteristics, you can see here trying to describe them as briefly as possible, not sentence format, nothing like that. How can you describe them in the least number of words possible? Age, because that becomes fairly important. You're going to describe the intervention that they used, because we're going to be looking at higher level interventions. So like in the dry needling example, we're looking at all different types of dry needling. But it is very possible that there are differences between different techniques, different treatment times, different applications. So we need to describe that to our reader. We're also going to describe what the comparison was for that, because we're going to eventually discuss whether or not those found significant differences between their intervention and their comparison group. And as we discussed previously, what you compare it to is going to have a large effect on what we consider a positive outcome or a statistically significant difference or not. Right? We talked about how if you compare doing something to doing nothing, oftentimes doing something will lead to better results just because you were involved specifically, in anything coming from some sort of training, right? If you are more physically active, you're going to see more benefits than if you're less physically active. Doesn't really matter what you do. However, oftentimes we're looking for efficiency. We're not looking to see whether or not, sitting around on our couch is just as good as practicing baseball is at becoming a good baseball player, because nobody's advocating sitting around on your couch and then trying to play baseball, right? Oftentimes they compare versus different things. And so we need to understand that when we do our analysis. And then the last column is your outcome. And these are the things that's most important to your research question. This is where you get to take away from what they did and apply it to what you are looking for. So this is where the outcome would be hamstring range of motion, even though they measured 25 different ranges of motion. Whatever outcomes you think match your research question and you want to use in your interpretation on whether or not your research question is true or false, that goes in that column. So from there, right, you need your results table is going to be however big your results flowchart came to. The number of articles that reach the bottom here is the number that's included in the flowchart or in the results table. So this takes some time to do. I mean, it's no different than when we were doing our synthesis of research. If you have a lot of articles, then it's going to take you more time, but in all reality, it may make it a little bit easier when you come to your discussion, so it kind of pays off. You need to have at least 2 or 3 to really justify doing this. So if you have less than 3, hopefully we can find some way to broaden your results. But that's why we did some of that preliminary searching beforehand. And so for the next bit of time, that's what we're going to be working on. I'm just bringing up the course schedule here so I can see specifically before I just wing it. So we actually do not come back to class as a large group until Wednesday. So you have a week to do this results table. And it is due next Wednesday. That isn't due until all of the results are due on November 6th. Yes. Are we meeting November 6th? We are not. Correct. So what we will do is you will spend the next week working on your results table. We will come back on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we will discuss writing the second paragraph of the results. That second paragraph of the results is just basically a synthesis paper, but now in a paragraph form of your results table. So if you have any questions on that, if you get done with your results table early and you would like some more information on that, you can, of course, reach out to me. You can kind of start playing with it on your own, looking at the examples, different aspects. But then what we will have done is the results table is due Wednesday. We will talk about that final paragraph. On Friday, you will turn in your draft of your results, and we will get peer feedback on Friday and over the weekend like we normally do. And no, it's not because it's Friday we don't have class. It's because it allows us to have an extra few days for the peer feedback. So it works out on Friday. If it was going to make my life easier, we wouldn't have class on Mondays. So that way I would have an extra day on Monday to prepare for my week. Because I don't go home on weekends, I go home every night. Questions on the results table? I don't know if I have a results table to share. Yeah, basically, you just use Word or Google Docs or whatever you're doing, draw a table and insert it there. We'll have to talk about that specifically. Share what one? Yeah, I usually end up just grabbing one of those from the examples sheet. Okay, so any other questions on the results table or what I'm expecting of you over the next week? So on that note then, right, the reason that we do it this way is because this is a time for a lot of individual work. You're not on your own. It's just a time where your questions probably only apply to your paper. So opposed to having us all get together and me answer your question while everyone sits around and waits for me. If questions do come up, please reach out to me and we will discuss your paper individually at a time that works for you, opposed to asking you all to sit around and wait for me. So that's the idea. Save the hour of you guys, or the 2 hours in this case, of you sitting around waiting for me to walk around the classroom. If you have it all done and have no problems, great. You know, that's no different than if you sat in class and you didn't need me to talk to you. But if you do have class or you do have questions, relying on your ability to use email, a telephone, text message, you book me, Google Scheduler, pick one of the many ways you can get a hold of me. And I'm more than happy to work directly with you one-on-one on your results table or wherever you are in the course of this assignment. This is also a good time to kind of, you know, use some of this to try to catch back up if you're sliding a little bit behind, all that as well. This is just not a good time to not think about this class for the next 6 days and on Tuesday try to bust out a results table because your life will suck. If you don't mind spending, 8 hours on Tuesday night doing a results table, you're an adult. But I would not want to stay up late on Tuesday night. Please get a good night's sleep on Tuesday because you have time now. Any questions on anything else moving forward, like where we're going next, where we've been, anything that you do not understand that I could maybe help clarify for the large group?